Welcome to the Riverview Systems Group podcast series. Welcome to the next episode of the Riverview Systems Group podcast series. We're welcoming back Todd and Steve. Let's talk a little bit about installs and integration. And why don't you guys tell us exactly what that is for people that don't know or that are interested in learning a little bit more?
Of course. Well, what we do is pretty much what rentals and staging does, but on a more permanent level, I guess would be the best way to put that. We design and install everything audio, visual, sound, lighting, and have clients ranging everywhere from house of worship to corporate to higher education. And essentially what that means is we help design everything from classrooms to audio reinforcement in churches to control systems in corporate boardrooms and everything from the ground up. We started getting our feet wet by, assisting in design work and doing the actual installation right down to the testing and the tuning and the training of the clients. And again, we were talking a little bit off camera, and technology has changed so much since we started doing this. What started out being slide projectors and push button control systems has now blossomed into everything from LED walls to high-end robotic lighting to
no more overhead projectors.
I can't say no more. We work at some educational facilities where old school teachers like their old school technology.
Right.
So it's a interesting challenge, shall we say.
And you said museums. We've done some museum work as well.
Yeah, we have done quite a bit of museum work, and that was probably one of the more travel-eccentric stuff or areas that we delved into for a while, because that was everything from the Chicago Museum to the Getty Museum in Southern California. Let's see.
So were those museums they were already built? They just wanted us to come in and upgrade their audio and video and lighting system?
Yeah, and we specialized in certain exhibits where, for instance, the Field Museum in Chicago, we did what was called the Life Underground exhibit, and it was supposed to be like taking you into this it was like going into this transporter where you go underground, and they had animatronic ants and whatnot, and we provided all of the audio for that. Wow. It was triggered by sensors and stuff like that, and then we would help design and kind of.
When was that?
Yeah, that was a while ago.
That was. Yeah. Holy smoke! That was probably late '90s.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
So even the technology then, when you're going through and you've got sensors going, and that's still pretty cutting edge stuff back then.
Yeah, which we've kind of been riding the crest of all of this time. Not to continue dropping names, but I want to say in '95 we did audio reinforcement system in the Mission Santa Clara, which was head and shoulders above anything what anybody else was doing, because they had come to us essentially wanting to have localization in all of the different applications that they had for their services.
Okay.
So when they did it in the round, they wanted to sound like the sound was coming from the middle of the sanctuary. When they did it from stage right, they wanted it to sound like, and we did that very analog, because this was back in 1995 when you didn't have digital signal processing and the ways of doing that. So we did it by basically by setting speakers on a particular what's the word I'm looking for?
Like risers or?
No. The speakers were all above head,
Okay.
but we have ones that would fire up when you wanted from stage left that would be hotter than the ones around the room.
Okay.
So it would give you the localization, the
Got it.
imagery that it was
Okay.
coming from.
So it's creating an experience.
There you go.
Got it.
But at the time that was we did that more by push buttons than digital signal processing. It was kind of like, okay.
And there was times that I think IR was involved. Back then there was still infrared and still there was infrared, and that was the technology that was available back then, and even pressure sensors. And you didn't know it, but as soon as you walked in, you were actually stepping on a sensor that would trigger what was going on and where the sound was coming from. And as you move through, you're triggering these different sensors that are switching the audio, that are switching the visuals and the lighting and everything else. So
Wow.
Yeah. Although it was analog, it was, created that experience for everybody coming through. And that was specific to museums. And, we use some of that type of technology on trade floors as well. Because if you think about it, an exhibit is an exhibit.
Sure.
It's just like in a museum, they want people to look at, their artwork. And on, a large trade show or trade floor, you're exhibiting your product. So we did a lot of automation in theaters and trade show booths and stuff like that too.
It sounds like the permanent installation projects, we can do more because if you've got a trade show, or a booth, it's only going to be open for 3 or 4 days, right? And so you're not going to have somebody or a company dropping the amount of money that a company would if they bring us in to do something that's going to be there for years. So, the kind of stuff that you're talking about here with the museums is really fascinating with the foot sensors and the pressure points and all that. Sounds like you guys might be playing with technology and toys more often that are cutting edge and higher end than a lot of the guys that are designing things for booths or 1 or 2 day shows.
Sure. Well, now, just to kind of segue, now we're installing stuff in classrooms that's head and shoulders above, the analog stuff that we were doing.
Like what?
Well, control systems and again, a big changeover came, with the pandemic, where all of a sudden every classroom had to have recording capabilities
Right.
and
Sure.
focusable microphones. So anywhere the instructor was standing, it would pick him up, and it possibly even target him with the camera and such. So we're doing stuff in simple classrooms now that was head and shoulders above some of the technology we were doing back in the museums and stuff like that. But it's kind of exciting because it's an ever-changing field,
Sure.
And you're right,
Yeah.
you got to kind of stay on the cusp of that wave because it's something that we're required to do,
Right.
in our position, if you will.
We notice in the installs world that people talk in the higher education world. These different schools, they go and visit each other and compare their technology, and they come to us. There's actually trade shows and that these folks go to. They compare their technology and it's like, hey, this university is doing this.
Right.
We want to do that.
Of course.
And sure.
Because they want that to be able to say, hey, if you come, Mr. Student,
Right.
we can offer this to you that maybe another university doesn't, or we've got more cutting edge, so to speak.
It's a very competitive world out there, when students are looking for their, the school that they want to go to, coming
Sure.
right out of high school. And if you can offer them the technology, that's cutting edge, that's one of the key aspects. And, just like one of the, probably the most popular thing that we do now is the capability to Zoom or Teams or Meet, whatever, any classroom, any class, any, day of instruction. so that it can be captured, and so that a student could go back and look on their iPhone or their iPad. They can sit in their dorm and go, what was he talking about, and go back review what was talked about in class. And on the other side of that, in the corporate world, Zoom and the ability to BYO your own device, into a conference room and plug in and go, is just as important, because everybody's trying to get their message across, or try to gather that information is, for their next midterm or whatever it is that they're working on.
It's kind of you think about, we say this a lot, what's around the corner, but we think of 5 years from now, just higher education alone. What are we talking about? I mean, what do you see technology wise? It's not quite here yet, but you say, well, that's going to be the next big thing.
That is a revolving door question, and surprisingly enough, we get it from a lot of clients. Not only that, is this technology going to be relevant in 5 years?
Sure,
and it's kind of like, wow, well.
Yeah, I think one of the things we're seeing is that, a lot of classrooms had projectors. 95% of the classrooms that we see or jump into, have projectors, but we're starting to see the request for larger displays now. And when you talk about larger displays, now we're getting into video walls, which is, kind of where we're starting to see things move. So, and there's some movement, in that as far as higher education.
Okay.
At House of Worship as well.
Sure.
A lot going on out there.
Are we thinking what is more popular, if you want to say, the traditional LED walls where you've got the tiles, or just these large displays now, 100-inch LED screen?
I would say, I think we're going to start moving into those tiles, because things are becoming more affordable in that realm, because there's more product, there's more manufacturers out there now.
Oh, it's everywhere.
And they're all battling each other. They probably all come from the same warehouse. That's a lot of it has to do with budget as well.
Sure.
And that's part of our job, is to see where these people are coming from, see what kind of budget they have. And see how we can help them upgrade their system without killing their entire budget, on AV, because they can come to us and tell us, oh, we've got $200,000, to do this. What they don't tell us is that they've got to do electrical, they got to do carpet, they've got to do paint, they've got to do, and that's, and a lot of times, and if I can just move on to like the way that we get involved, the client usually brings us in. Hardly ever do we work directly for contractors or general contractors. It's usually the client, the end users, who will bring us in and they'll say, hey, this is our contract who's building the building. We want to introduce you guys. And then we end up sharing documents, drawings, hey, what do you guys need? How heavy is this? What is your heat load on this? We want to make sure you have AC. So just a lot of information that on the event side, we can go in and we know what our weights and dims are, what their capability is. So we kind of work backwards sometimes.
It's a totally different mindset.
Yeah.
It's completely different. I mean, just listening to what you're saying, I'm learning, because I am so entrenched in the event side of things. Like you're saying, you've got your rigging points, you've got how much the weight is, but now you're talking air conditioning and contract and that whole bit. That probably was something that is a constant learning. Was there a curve when you came in, or?
Oh, huge curve. Yeah, huge curve. Yeah, we're working with some of the best general contractors, in the world out there.
Wow.
Some of the best project managers that are out there, and they tend to communicate better than a lot of companies. And that works well for us because I learn a lot every day I'm learning something different. And whether it's, the type of conduit, the length of conduit, what are we allowed to do in this facility? We have to take into consideration ADA requirements for everything we do as well.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of information we got to gather, and but working with the right general contractor, and when you have the right, the client that understands both sides of the world, it's exciting.
Are we primarily in California, or have we gone to other, as far as these projects, how far out have we gone?
Primarily in California. We have done a lot of traveling in the past, and a majority of the time, those instances, per se, were regular clients that said, "Hey, I've got this lobby in Boston. Would you?"
Exactly. Right.
And,
Sure.
And it would be kind of like, well, I'm not sure if we can be competitive for sending a crew to Boston, but
Right.
let's draw it up and see where it lands. So a majority of the times when we did do traveling, as far as even the museums and stuff like that, it was regular clients that said, "Hey, I love what you did here.
Right.
How's about giving it a try?" So.
Well, the amazing thing with us, Riverview as a company, is just the client retention and the repeat performers. So many of the projects that we have on the calendar are companies and clients and people. I mean, we look at them more than just a client. We like to think of them as partners.
Absolutely.
Just because some of them are we know them so well, they're almost like friends. So
Understood. Yeah. I mean, we get the same thing, and again, to have worked, especially in this valley, for as long as we have,
right?
One of the first churches that we did was St. Victor's, and they're still a client of ours. I mean, They still call us every time. Hey, we're having a problem with this microphone. Can you come down and take a look at it? And even with the corporate. With the corporate world, a lot of times you see the turnovers where all of a sudden it's new people that you're dealing with,
right?
And stuff like that. But with the education, a lot of the times, some of the people that we're working with today are the same people that we were working with 35 years ago, which is
That's
exciting.
amazing.
And again, you consider them, friends. It's
Absolutely.
kind of like,
I mean, you know them so well. You could say, "Hey, how's the wife and how are the kids?" And all that kind of thing. All right. Well, you know what, guys, this was great. We're going to do one more episode and highlight a couple of projects, but maybe last question here, and this might be obvious, but we call it installation and integration. Is there a difference really that you see between the two? I mean, installation sounds more like you're going and you're just installing everything, and integration is more the planning, or what is, what would you say?
I think the integration is as integration means, is bringing everything together to make it work, to make it simple for the end users. And that's something that we try to take, we take into consideration every time we work on a design. Even if the design's already built, we'll go back to the designers and say, "Hey, this might be a little complex for your end users. Maybe we should involve them to get their thoughts. They're the ones that are going to be using it. We're going to be installing it and supporting it. So we want to make it as easy as possible for those end users."
And we get the calls when they don't understand.
And it's
Sure, right.
To watch somebody come in, especially when can you train us? Yeah, sure, we can train you. And we walk in the building, and they said, "So what are we doing?" I said, "Well, you're going to get your laptop out of your bag, and you're going to plug it in. And if you have issues, we can talk through it. And after that, I'll explain to you what everything does." That's usually how our training, process gets started when we complete a project. Get all the end users in the same room, and break it.
It sounds like the same kind of concept that the event side has. You want to make it as easy for the client as possible.
Yes.
As seamless.
Yes.
And so that they can kind of just walk in and boom, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
So excellent. Well, guys, thanks again for being on. looking forward to chatting with you again. And in the meantime, thanks everybody for tuning in and spending some time with us. And we'll be back soon. Cheers.
Cheers.